The bump method is probably the most proven and tried method of controlling students and managing behaviour in schools. It's relatively old and there are hundreds of different programs out there, but it's one of the all-time favourites that are used across the country and across the world, in fact. The bump method basically says, well, if a student is misbehaving, the way you react has to be matched at the same level of, I suppose, seriousness. Bump 1 is what we call low-key responses, generally for low-key or behaviours that typically are more distracting or annoying than serious. It's the very first one, and generally the idea with the bump method is we do the minimum required to control students so as not to distract the rest of the class. With the bump 1, let's say, for example, the student is talking over there, is not being annoying or swearing or anything like that. The first thing you might want to do is, well, you could choose any number of these things. Remember how that they're low key, meaning they don't disrupt any other students. They only take literally half a second or a couple of seconds. And for a lot of them, you can do these without even turning your head away from the students that you're actually working with. The look. The look is quite simply just a bit of a stare. Nothing aggressive, nothing too serious, just enough to let the student know that they're misbehaving. Proximity. Proximity means hanging in the general area, hovering in the area of wherever the students are most likely to misbehave. If the student over there is continuing to talk, you may want to just stand behind them or in that sort of general vicinity. Proximity works really well, and you should really think carefully about where you position yourself in the classroom in relation to students that are most likely to be off task. Using the student's name, something simple like Johnny, thanks. And of course, being polite as well, saying please, saying thankful, usually using a very monotonal or simple voice. It doesn't have to be aggressive, it doesn't have to be yelling across the classroom. Very, very friendly, polite and respectful. Having a brief pause. If you're talking to 3 or 4 students and one is off task, pausing, looking at them will generally let them know in quite a serious way that you're onto them and they better get back on task. A simple signal, a little bit of body language, something like this: get back on task, go back over there, thank you, keep working, sit down, stop rocking on the chair, something real simple like that. You can continue working with these students and yet still control the other students around you when they're doing minor things. And ignoring. Tactfully ignoring is a really important one as well. Make conscious decisions about which students you and which behaviours you need to control and which ones you can ignore for now and come back to later on. If Johnny just rocks on his chair for 2 seconds, well, you may choose that it's not important enough for you, even though it's against the rules. You may decide that you're going to continue working here because helping these students is more important. And you can always walk back around and say, hey Johnny, you rocked before, don't do it again, that was silly, you know the rules. Most important thing, low key, only takes a couple of seconds, constantly. You should be doing these non-stop all day, unless you've got one of those perfect classes where there's no behaviour problems. A 1 hour typical Year 9 class, you'd probably use these 150 times, easily. And it's the most common bump. If these don't work, you may then need to go to bump 2, which we'll do in our next video.